Hello guys, I am Dr. Devendra Mishra, working as Assistant Professor in Chemistry at Bidla Institute of Applied Sciences, right? Also running this Tetrahedron Chemistry Classes channel, and here are the links available to approach me. Hello friends, welcome back to the Tetrahedron Chemistry Classes. So guys, if you remember in my last class, that is yesterday, I have actually explained the magnetic properties of the certain complexes, and chiefly I have discussed your paramagnetic behavior of the substances, temperature dependent and the temperature independent as well. Okay. So in case of the paramagnetic substances, at the end of the lecture, actually I was explaining the Curie law, and that Curie law is actually is equals to what? Here paramagnetic susceptibility, which is the corrected one, that is inversely proportional to the temperature, where the intercept is the zero. That means it is passing through the origin. Okay. And see, this was the case actually. Okay. And but this the problem is that with this Curie law, it is only applicable to those systems actually where there is no cooperative magnetism is there. Okay, there is no cooperation, any kind of the cooperation. Basically, when you are actually diluted form magnetism is there, like your diamagnetic and paramagnetic nature. So in that case, your Curie law is applicable, while actually it is not applicable where some cooperative magnetism is there. Okay, so this was the case. Okay, so in today's class, I'll explain the next type of your law, which is the advanced one, which is Curie-Weiss law. And see, guys, I am actually receiving lots of requests from you, especially from the South India. So they are actually reporting that they actually don't understand Hindi. So kindly make the lecture in the English also. Okay. And when I started my lecture with the English, then the guys from the north actually were complaining about the English language, and they actually said, please shoot in the Hindi. Okay, so see, from today onwards, keeping in mind that the all the subscribers and all the students are equivalent for me, what I'm trying from today, I'll explain the things first in English, okay, and then I'll go for the Hindi. And in doing this much of work actually will actually excessive, which actually increase the length of the lecture. Okay, so the content actually which I will give, that would not be sufficient in one single lecture, so I have to shoot more. So but I have to do this one for you guys. Okay, so I'll explain all these things first in English and then Hindi. So what you can do, English guide can English the students who understand only English, they watch the English language and then skip the Hindi one, or say see the Hindi one in the fast forward. Okay, say in not in the normal speed, say 1.5 or 1.75 speed. I hope you know how to actually speed up and how to slow down the speed of the video using YouTube. Okay, so guys, this was the picture, and I am explaining the Curie-Weiss law. And see, Curie-Weiss law is nothing but it is again your paramagnetic susceptibility, which is the corrected one, and that would be equal to C divided by T minus theta. Now this theta is become very important. Theta is actually your intercept. Okay, and in that case there is no the value of the C would be 0 if you compare this y is equals to ms plus C. But in that case you will have this theta, which is the intercept, and this theta is very important, and this theta will determine the interaction, and this will give you the cooperative mechanism. Okay, so I'll come to this, what are the cooperative mechanism, and how we can explain this. So for example, you can see this is the graphical picture of your say this is the graph of your Curie-Weiss law. Say this was your paramagnetic behavior, corrected magnetic susceptibility for the paramagnetic substances according to the Curie law. Okay, this was passing through the origin. There is no actually theta. So what see, if you take the Curie-Weiss law, then okay, in Curie-Weiss law, you will explain either ferromagnetism or the anti-ferromagnetism. So in that case, you can see when you are observing that anti-ferromagnetic nature of the substances, then you have this intercept value. Okay, this is cutting this x-axis in the negative direction. Okay, and see, this is actually Tn. It is up to you whether you write the small n or the capital N. It is Néel temperature, and this Néel temperature is the characteristic property of the antiferromagnetic ferromagnetic substances. And if you see this one, this is this particular graph is for your ferromagnetic substances, and ferromagnetic substances has again a special type of the temperature which is known as the Curie temperature. Okay, and this the value of the theta actually will give you the interaction. So see this, you can see this Tc is actually positive here. So whenever this theta, the value of the theta is actually positive, okay, then it would be your ferromagnetic substances, and the value of the theta if negative, right, it is going in the negative x coordinate. So in that case, you can see the value of the theta would be negative, and when the value of the theta would be negative, it is the anti-ferromagnetic. Okay, and this theta actually takes account into the takes account of the cooperative interaction. So this was the this is actually Curie-Weiss law. Now in Hindi you can see, तो कल हमने देखा था किस तरीके से आपका क्यूरी लॉ पैरामैग्नेटिज्म के लिए काम करता है। इसके लिए ओरिजिन से एक आपकी लाइन पास होती है, ठीक है, लेकिन इसकी प्रॉब्लम ये थी कि ये वहीं पे ही काम कर सकता है जहां पे आपके डाइल्यूटेड फॉर्म में डाइल्यूट आपका मैग्नेटिज्म है, लाइक डायामैग्नेटिज्म और पैरामैग्नेटिज्म, तो क्यूरी लॉ वहीं एप्लीकेबल होता है। लेकिन अगर जहां पे कोऑपरेटिव मैकेनिज्म की बात आती है, जहां पे रीइंफोर्स करते हैं, और कोऑपरेटिव मैग्नेटिज्म के एग्जांपल है फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म, एंटी फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म, फेरीमैग्नेटिज्म, ओके, ये इसके एग्जांपल्स हैं। तो वहां पे फिर ये क्यूरी लॉ काम नहीं करता, तो उसके लिए फिर हमको क्यूरी-वेस लॉ देखना पड़ता है। क्यूरी-वेस लॉ और ये दोनों एक ही चीज है अगर आप देखें इस तरीके से, they are the same, the only difference is what the theta is the intercept, and that intercept was 0 in that case, but यहाँ पे आपको थीटा आपका मिलता है। और ये जब भी आप इस थीटा की बात करते हैं इंटरसेप्ट की, तो फिर आपका जो डेविएशन है, ये ओरिजिन से जो ग्राफ आपका स्टार्ट हो रहा था क्यूरी लॉ के केस में, अभी आपका यहाँ से स्टार्ट ना होके कहीं और दूसरी तरीके से दूसरी जगह से स्टार्ट होगा एक्स कोऑर्डिनेट में, ये इंटरसेप्ट की वैल्यू है। और अगर फेरोमैग्नेटिक सब्सटेंसेस हैं तो इसके लिए ये थीटा की वैल्यू पॉजिटिव होगी, यू कैन सी हेयर, ओके। और ये कैरेक्टरिस्टिक प्रॉपर्टी आपके जो है सब्सटेंस की रहेगी। लेकिन अगर थीटा की वैल्यू नेगेटिव है, जिसको यहाँ पे Tn है, नील टेम्परेचर भी हम इसको बोलते हैं, और इसके लिए ये नेगेटिव होगा तो एंटी फेरोमैग्नेटिक सब्सटेंस है, ठीक। तो वेज लॉ जो आपका है वो एंटी फेरोमैग्नेटिक और फेरीमैग्नेटिक सब्सटेंसेस में आपका अप्लाई होगा, आपका ये पैरामैग्नेटिक में अप्लाई नहीं होगा। बस इतना आपने समझना है, ओके गाइस। Now guys, I am coming back to the main concept here. What is the cooperative mechanism? Okay, cooperative mechanism you can understand where there is a cooperation between the magnetic moment. Okay, so whenever you are talking about the magnetic materials, so basically we have the, okay, so magnetic materials basically are of two types, magnetically diluted materials, and magnetically diluted materials are, or substances are, the diamagnetic substances or the paramagnetic substances. Okay, when this happens, actually diamagnetism and the paramagnetism, so your substance may be in any form, it may be in the solid form, it may be in the liquid form, or it may be in the gaseous form. In all the three forms this type of the magnetism can exist, which is diamagnetic and the paramagnetic, right? When it comes to the magnetically concentrated one, see what is the difference between diluted and the concentrated one? So this concentrated one, that mean here the magnetization would be very, very high. So whatever the property of the magnetism would be there, it would be very, very high when compared to the magnetically diluted one. Okay, so here you can see your magnetically diluted systems can be explained with the help of the number of the paired and the unpaired electrons. Okay, but magnetically concentrated substances can only be explained on the basis of the domain theory. Okay, I'll try to explain in a brief actually what is the domain theory. I'm not going into the very much detail of this domain theory. For this you can see some physics lecture if you want. Okay, but as far as chemistry is concerned, I will provide you the sufficient literature or the sufficient knowledge which would be actually good enough for your chemistry material. Okay, fine. So these actually magnetically concentrated one would be explained on the basis of the domain theory. And see, when cooperative magnetization is there, then you may have the ferromagnetism, anti-ferromagnetism and ferrimagnetism. I'll explain all the three individually, okay? And when you consider this, your magnetically concentrated substances, which so they actually exist only in the diluted form. So because sorry, they exist only in the solid form. This is something very, very important. Why in the solid form? See, you know, in the solid form, you are, say if you are taking, say suppose this is the metal, and it say it is the iron block. Okay, so if it is solid only, then what will happen? Your all the iron present in it, right? Each individual square which I am putting here, So say they are the actually what, iron. So they all irons are very close in that case. Okay, and when they are close enough, only then they can cooperate with each other, or they can actually contribute towards the magnitude or magnitude actually, right? So this can provide this to this iron, this can provide to this iron. So it is very essential for the cooperative mechanism, your substance must be solid. Okay, like you may have your alloy also, you may have your solid material also, but in case of the magnetically diluted form, you may have anything, right? Solid, liquid or gas. But the obvious question arises here, see why actually this magnetically diluted magnetism or substances are there in the solid form, right? Because in the solid form they would be very close, as I was explaining here. So it must be magnetically concentrated one. But you see, nothing is perfect, 100% things are not there actually in the world. So what actually happens in the solid also, say for example, you have a particular lattice, say this is a certain block, and in this block, say you have the different lattice points. Okay, so there may be always a chance, right? See your see whatever your metals are there, say in that case, so metals may present in the different lattice. Say this is lattice 1, your metal is here, then again your metal is here. So in the, see when when they are present in the different lattice, and so that they can interact actually. So when the interaction is there between them, then obviously your magnetically diluted systems are also there in the solid phase. Okay, this is very important, which I have written here. Metal in the solid may present in the different lattice, thus in solids too the diamagnetic and paramagnetism can exist. Okay, and then guys, you can see here, now I am explaining this ferromagnetic substances. So by definition I am telling you, ferromagnetic substances are those substances, if you keep those substances in the magnetic field, external magnetic field, so they are actually very strongly attracted by the magnetic field. Okay, that means the magnetic moment is very high when you keep them in the magnetic field. But remember, these ferromagnetic substances, initially they are paramagnetic. Okay, initially they are paramagnetic, but when you keep this these substances in the magnetic field, then actually they becomes the permanent magnet. So if you remove the magnetic field, they will behave as the permanent magnet for so many days actually. Okay, so this is the concept behind the ferromagnetic substances. So what I have written here, you can read. So they are the paramagnetic substances, but on keeping in the magnetic field, they are strongly attracted towards the magnetic field and becomes permanent magnet. See iron, cobalt, nickel. See this gadolinium is very special, guys. Okay, this gadolinium is very special. Why it is very special? Because see the horsepower of this gadolinium magnet is very high. So the strength of the actually your magnet is also measured in the horsepower. Okay, so it's a very horsepower. This gadolinium is having very high horsepower, so it's a very strong magnet. And for your knowledge, you see, you must have seen this kind of magnets in the market, or say in the gadgets somewhere, right? So this is actually horseshoe type of your magnet, and this horseshoe type of magnet is actually made up of the gadolinium. Okay, so this you have to remember. So dysprosium is also there. Then you may have your alloys like copper, aluminium, manganese alloys are there. Then you may have the certain transition metal which belongs to the first transition series, like chromium oxide and ferric oxide. So from here you will understand, see you have to mug out lot of thing, right? You have to actually mug out lot of thing in magnetism. It is not like that, say everywhere you apply a little concept, or say 2 or 3 concept and you will get your answer. It is not like that. You have to actually learn and remember lots of things in the magnetism especially. Okay guys, so you can see here, say I have taken this iron bar here. See this is the iron bar, Fe bar, and individual magnetic moment I am showing here, right? It is paramagnetic in nature. In overall it is paramagnetic in nature. That means it will have actually you can see it will have your magnetic moment somewhere greater than 0. It is not equal to 0. Okay, so it is behaving just like that. So if I want to draw more clearly, say this is another iron block, and the individual actually you can see the arrow which I am showing for the magnetic moment. Okay, so now they are the iron. So that means each individual arrow is the iron present in it, and each iron in this iron bar is actually what? Domain. Domain means a very small region. So this is a domain, this is another domain, this is another domain, this is another domain. So these are the domains. Okay, now what you can do, you can put that particular iron bar in the magnetic field. So here I have applied that magnetic field. Of course I'll use this gadolinium magnet. Okay, but you can use other also, and I'm using that gadolinium. So when you use that this gadolinium, what will happen, this is the direction of the magnetic field, say, and your all the spins which were in that particular direction, now they are aligned towards the magnetic field. That means they are very strongly, due to this alignment, they are very strongly attracted towards the magnetic field. Okay, now what is the meaning of that? Say now if you remove the magnetic field, okay, if you remove the magnetic field and cut this magnet or cut this iron bar everywhere. So I have cut it, remove magnetic field, cut it this bar. So you can see the now individual domain I am showing in that manner. Okay, so this is what actually these are called the copper pairs. That means cooperative pairs which are cooperating each other. You can see the all the spins are in one direction, all the spins are one direction. So this individual is a small magnet, this individual is a small magnet, this individual is a small magnet. So each piece in this cluster is actually acting as a magnet. So you can understand the magnetic power would be very high, and this magnetic power actually remains so long, so for so many days, right, after the removal of the magnetic field also. So this is the concept of your ferromagnetism. Okay guys, now very quickly I am going to explain in the Hindi also. तो इसमें आप देख सकते हैं कि जो कोऑपरेटिव मैकेनिज्म है, ये मैग्नेटिक मटेरियल जो है दो तरीके के होते हैं. एक आपके मैग्नेटिकली डाइल्यूटेड, जो डायमैग्नेटिक और पैरामैग्नेटिक है, इसको मैं कल समझा चुका हूं. ये सॉलिड, लिक्विड, गैस तीनों में एग्जिस्ट कर सकता है. और मैग्नेटिकली कंसंट्रेटेड जो है वो आपके जो कोऑपरेटिव मैग्नेटिज्म शो करते हैं वो आपके फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म, एंटी फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म, राइट, और फेरीमैग्नेटिज्म इस तरीके से होते हैं. और ये सिर्फ सॉलिड में ही आपके एग्जिस्ट करते हैं, और इनका एक्सप्लेनेशन सिर्फ डोमेन थ्योरी से ही हम बता सकते हैं. जबकि आपके डायमैग्नेटिक और पैरामैग्नेटिक को आप नंबर ऑफ पेयर्ड एंड द अनपेयर्ड इलेक्ट्रॉन यहां से भी आप बहुत आसानी से एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हैं. ठीक है, तो इसमें सॉलिड में क्यों ये होता है, क्योंकि कोऑपरेटिव होने के लिए, एक दूसरे को सपोर्ट करने के लिए जरूरी है कि ये मेटल आयंस बहुत पास पास हों, और सॉरी मेटल्स बहुत पास पास हों. जब ये मेटल्स बहुत पास पास होंगे तभी आपका ये कोऑपरेटिव पेयर बना पाएंगे, इसीलिए ये सॉलिड में होता है. तब आप यहाँ से एक ऑब्वियस क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं, फिर सॉलिड में यहाँ पे भी तो आपका डाइल्यूटेड फॉर्म में भी तो हो रहा है. तो ऐसा इसलिए होता है क्योंकि ऐसा हो सकता है कि जो मेटल आयंस हो वो लेटिस पॉइंट में थोड़ा पास पास आपके हों, और जो वो लेटिस पॉइंट में पास पास होंगे तब वो भी आपके क्या कर सकते हैं, अलग अलग लेटिस पॉइंट में प्रेजेंट हो सकते हैं. सॉलिड में भी अलग अलग लेटिस पॉइंट में प्रेजेंट हो सकते हैं, तो वो एक दूसरे को कोऑपरेट नहीं करते हैं. ठीक है, इसलिए सॉलिड में भी ये हो सकता है. देन देयर कम्स द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ द फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म. तो फेरोमैग्नेटिक सब्सटेंस वो सब्सटेंस होते हैं जिनको आप मैग्नेटिक फील्ड में अगर रखें तो मैग्नेटिक फील्ड उनको बहुत स्ट्रांगली अपनी तरफ अट्रैक्ट करता है. ठीक है, आयरन है, कोबाल्ट है, निकल है, डिस्पोरियम, ये बहुत सारे हैं. बहुत सारे एलॉयज भी आपके कॉपर, एल्यूमिनियम, मैग्नीज के देख लीजिए, या क्रोमियम का ऑक्साइड, आयरन का ऑक्साइड देख लीजिए आपके, राइट. ये सारे के सारे आपके फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म शो करते हैं. गैडोलिनियम बहुत हाई हॉर्स पावर का मैग्नेट होता है, इसी को ही सब जगह यूज किया जाता है. ठीक है, और यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं, अगर मैं एक्सप्लेन करना चाहूँ कि कैसे बता रखे हैं, मान लीजिए कोई ये आयरन बार है और यहाँ पे ये आपके जो है एक डायरेक्शन में ही सारे के सारे मैग्नेटिक मूवमेंट जो है आपके अलाइंड है, और यहाँ पे आपका नेट कोई ना कोई पैरामैग्नेटिक बिहेवियर होगा. तो ये भी पैरामैग्नेटिक सब्सटेंस ही होते हैं बेसिकली. तो अगर मैं इसको दूसरे पिक्चर में यहाँ पे दिखाना चाहूँ तो आयरन मैंने सबको देखिए इंडिविजुअल स्पिन्स को आयरन के फॉर्म में लिख दिया. तो हर एक आयरन जो यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है ये एक डोमेन की तरह काम कर रहा है. तो डोमेन का मतलब एक छोटा सा रीजन है. ओके, तो ये आपका बेसिकली तो पैरामैग्नेटिक होते हैं, और अब ये पैरामैग्नेटिक की तरह ही बिहेव करेंगे. लेकिन जब आप इसको मैग्नेटिक फील्ड में रख देंगे, मान लीजिए मैंने गैडोलिनियम से यहाँ पे कोई मैग्नेटिक फील्ड लगाया, उस पर रख दिया, तो जितनी ये स्पिन थी ये सारी की सारी इस एक्सटर्नल मैग्नेटिक फील्ड के साथ अलाइंड हो जाएंगी. इसीलिए ये स्ट्रांगली अट्रैक्ट किया जाएगा मैग्नेटिक फील्ड द्वारा. मैंने कल भी बताया था कि जब डायरेक्शन एक साथ होते हैं तो आपके ये अट्रैक्ट करते हैं. ओके, तो ये स्ट्रांगली अट्रैक्टेड हो जाएंगे. अब अगर आप मैग्नेटिक फील्ड हटा भी देंगे तब भी ये कई दिनों तक मैग्नेट की तरह ही बिहेव करेगा, बहुत समय तक इसमें मैग्नेटाइजेशन रहता ही रहता है. तो मान लीजिए मैंने मैग्नेटिक फील्ड हटा दिया और इन पूरे आयरन बार को कट कर दिया, तो हर कटेड बार जो है, हर छोटा छोटा जो पीस है वो एक आयरन एक मैग्नेट की तरह ही बिहेव करेगा. और हर केस में आप देखिए कि कोऑपरेटिव मैकेनिज्म हो रहा है, क्योंकि एक मान लीजिए आयरन यहाँ पे था, दूसरा आयरन यहाँ था, दोनों ने एक दूसरे के साथ मिलके एक पेयर बनाया जिसको कोऑपरेटिव पेयर बोल रहे हैं. और यहाँ पे भी आप देखें दो एक साथ कोऑपरेटिव पेयर है, तो हर पीस यहाँ पर जो है आपका कोऑपरेटिव पेयर की बात कर. सो दिस इज द कंसेप्ट ऑफ योर फेरोमैग्नेटिक सब्सटेंसेस. ओके, So now moving to the next very important point, which with the point is actually effect of the temperature on the magnetic susceptibility of the ferromagnetic substances. Now what I'll explain. So I'm going to explain the effect of the temperature here. So whatever I have written, you can actually take the snapshot of this one and read later. Okay, what I'm going to explain here. So guys, so this is your magnetic susceptibility which is going up, and this is your temperature actually which is increasing the x direction. And remember, I am plotting now my magnetic susceptibility, but not the inverse of the susceptibility. So you can see when you increase the temperature, so there is actually exponential decrease in the paramagnetism also. Okay, this you should keep in mind, because in the last class you have seen that straight line. Actually that straight line was the plot of a temperature against inverse of your magnetic susceptibility, but here I am not plotting with the inverse. That's why it is actually the exponential one. Okay, so in that case, see this green one, actually it is showing the paramagnetism. Okay, and now what you can see here, say further, say that particular example are any paramagnetic substances. Now it is behaving in that manner. Here you can see in the paramagnetic way. Okay, now what you can do, you can cool down the temperature. You can low temperature, you can cool down the substance. Okay, so what will happen, there occurs a certain temperature which is called as the Curie temperature, which is the Tc. And this temperature, at this particular temperature, there would be certain ferromagnetic character in your substance. Okay, here in the green line it is purely paramagnetic, but at this particular temperature it is your ferromagnetics. Okay, and this ferromagnetism actually keeps on increasing if you further lowering down the temperature, right? And if you come here, so it will have this particular value somewhere here at T1. So where actually this ferromagnetism is maximum. So here it is, this orange line is for the ferromagnetism. So in this range actually with T1, between T1 and Tc, if you see this particular one, okay, in this range you will have your paramagnetism as well as ferromagnetism both together. And if you are close towards this Curie temperature, then more paramagnetic nature and less ferromagnetic nature is there. But if you continue on this direction, in this particular direction, right, on the left hand side towards the origin, that means your ferromagnetic nature increases, and at particular temperature that ferromagnetism would be very, very high. Okay, and if you further low down the temperature, then your ferromagnetism will gone, and again your paramagnetism nature will increase. So it will actually happen in a certain range of the temperature. This you should keep in mind. Okay guys, so in that case you can see here in this region actually, right, so I have written Tn, it is not Tn, actually it is T1. So any temperature T1. Okay, so in this particular range from T1 to Tc, there is no actually Curie-Weiss law. There is no applicability of your Curie-Weiss law. Okay, in this particular range. But outside this, above this Tc, actually you can see Curie-Weiss law is applicable. Okay, which I have explained, right? Intercept value you will have. And then you can see here, if you keep on increasing the temperature above Tc, okay, so what will happen actually, see, in ferromagnetism you have just seen that you have this kind of the Cooper pairs. Okay, Cooper pairs, and these Cooper pairs are there at the Tc. But if you increase the temperature beyond Tc towards the right hand side, right, what will happen, this Cooper pair actually get destroyed. So when this Cooper pair get destroyed, that means no cooperative type of magnetism, and you will have the paramagnetic nature. This is very, very important to note that. And this actually Curie temperature for iron ferromagnetism, it is actually what, 766 degree centigrade. So this is the concept which you should keep in mind. Okay, तो now in Hindi अगर आप इसको समझना चाहते हैं, देखिए ये हम टेम्परेचर का इफेक्ट जो है आपका मैग्नेटिक ससेप्टिबिलिटी पे दिखा रहे हैं फेरोमैग्नेटिक सब्सटेंसेस के लिए। तो इस केस में क्या होता है, देखिए इसको सुविधा के लिए हमने क्या किया है, पैरामैग्नेटिक की जो लाइन जो है वो दे रखी है। और मैंने अभी आपको बताया कि ये सब्सटेंस एक्चुअली होते पैरामैग्नेटिक हैं, लेकिन एक सर्टेन टेम्परेचर रेंज पे आकर आपका ये बिहेवियर चेंज करते हैं और ये फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म स्ट्रांगली अट्रैक्ट होते हैं। तो वो टेम्परेचर क्या है, ये क्यूरी टेम्परेचर है टीसी से, इसमें आप ऐसे चलें तो ये यहाँ पे तो पैरामैग्नेटिज्म है, ठीक है। लेकिन जैसे ही एक पर्टिकुलर टीसी पे आते हैं, जैसे आयरन के लिए 766 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड है, तो यहाँ पे फिर इसमें फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म डेवलप होने लगता है। और फिर आप इसको लगातार और ठंडा करते रहिए, ठंडा करते रहिए, तो ये फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म बढ़ता चलता है, बढ़ता चलता है इस डायरेक्शन में। और एक पर्टिकुलर टेम्परेचर पे, हर सब्सटेंस के लिए अलग अलग होगा, ये फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म अपनी मैक्सिमम वैल्यू पे होता है। तो कहने का मतलब क्या है, ये वाला जो शेडेड एरिया मैं दिखा रहा हूं आपका, ये आपका ऑरेंज लाइन जो है, ये आपका पूरा फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म शो कर रही है। अगर आप टीसी के बहुत क्लोज हैं तो यहाँ पे पैरामैग्नेटिक और फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म भी हैं, लेकिन पैरामैग्नेटिज्म ज्यादा है। लेकिन जब आप ऐसे मूव करते हैं तो फिर यहाँ पे फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म बढ़ता चलता है, तो इस एरिया में। और यहाँ पे आपका क्यूरी वेज लॉ काम नहीं करता, इसके ऊपर जरूर काम करते हैं। तो ये स्पेसिफिक एरिया आपने याद रखना पड़ेगा। ओके, अब देखिए क्या होता है कि ये जो फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म है, ये कोऑपरेटिव मैकेनिज्म है। तो इसके लिए क्या, अभी आपने देखा कि ऐसे आपका कॉपर पेयर्स बनने चाहिए। ओके, तो ये कॉपर पेयर्स बन रहे हैं, लेकिन जैसे अब क्यों यहाँ इसी टेम्परेचर पे हो रहा है, क्योंकि अगर इस टीसी से ज्यादा आप टेम्परेचर बढ़ाएंगे तो ये कॉपर पेयर टूटने लगते हैं, जो कोऑपरेटिव पेयर्स हैं ये टूटने लगते हैं। तो फिर पैरा में रैंडम आपका आने लगता है, तो फिर पैरामैग्नेटिक बिहेवियर ही शो करते हैं। सो दिस इज द कंसेप्ट ऑफ द फेरोमैग्नेटिक सब्सटेंसेस। ओके गाइस, now I'm coming back to the anti-ferromagnetic substances. Okay, so you can see guys here, anti-ferromagnetic substance, I'll explain with the help of the example also, because in that case you may find one or two questions which are very important for the CSIR net, as well as for the CSIR as well as for the gate examinations. Okay, so guys, what I am going to explain here, you can see I am taking the example of this manganese oxide. However, see, I have various examples for this anti-ferromagnetism. You may have the oxides of the first transition series, right? Mn2O4, MnO2, Mn2O3, MnO2, MnO, V2O3. Lots of examples are there. Okay, you can mug it out all of them actually. You may have the question from anywhere. Okay, so see, I'm taking the example of the manganese oxide. So this is the manganese oxide which is paramagnetic in nature. Okay, that means it will have the certain value of the magnetic moment. That means in that case, mu actually would not be equal to 0 again. Okay, so what will happen, you keep that your substance or your MnO in the magnetic field. What happens when you put this substance in the magnetic field, so it forms the pair actually, and you can see this is the paired spin, this is the paired spin, and this is also the paired spin, and this is the opposite case of your ferromagnetism. In the ferromagnetism, you are having all the spins, two spins in the one direction. That means they are reinforcing each other. But in anti-ferromagnetic substances, the alignment is just like that. So the magnetic moment of one electron is going in one direction, and for other electron it is going in the other direction. So they will cancel out. And when they will cancel out, actually what will happen, there is no net magnetic moment. So they are actually repelled by the magnetic field. So, and it may repel by that particular extent. So it can also behave as your diamagnetic substances. So but they are actually more strongly repelled by the magnetic field than your diamagnetic substances. So this is the concept just like that. But it is not necessary you actually align the electron in that manner. You can do in that manner also. So 3 actually are, see, this is not good. So you can see 3 is going up and 3 are going up and 3 are going down. Now net magnetic moment would also be 0 in that case. Okay, so they may behave as the diamagnetic substances, but not exactly diamagnetic, because they are actually more strongly repelled by the magnetic field than your diamagnetic substances. That's why the name is the anti-ferromagnetism substances. So what I have written here, you can see the substances which are expected to possess the paramagnetism or the ferromagnetism. Like you see this manganese oxide, right? See, in this manganese oxide, you can see manganese is in +2 oxidation state. Okay guys, when it is in +2 oxidation state, that means it is having the D5 system. And when it is having the D5 system, guys, right, then you know oxygen is your weak ligand. So you may have this 5 unpaired electron. So due to this 5 unpaired electron, this compound must be paramagnetic in nature. But actually it is not paramagnetic, it is repelled, strongly repelled by the magnetic field. It is acting as a anti-ferromagnetic substance. Okay, so substances which are expected to possess the paramagnetism or ferromagnetism on the basis of the number of the unpaired electrons, but they possess a 0 net magnetic moment are called the anti-ferromagnetic substances, and this is also the case of your cooperative mechanism, but in that case your cooperation is going in the opposite direction, so you have the zero net magnetic moment. Okay, so हिंदी वाले ऐसे समझ सकते हैं कि एंटी फेरोमैग्नेटिक वो सब्सटेंस होते हैं जो कि मैग्नेटिक फील्ड में रखने पे ये स्ट्रांगली रिपेल किए जाते हैं। तो डायामैग्नेटिक भी रिपेल किए जाते थे, ये भी रिपेल किए जाते हैं, लेकिन ये ज्यादा स्ट्रांगली रिपेल किए जाते हैं, इसीलिए इनको आपका एग्जैक्ट डायामैग्नेटिक कहना ठीक नहीं है। ये कॉपर एसिड का एग्जांपल भी हम पीछे इसमें लेंगे। तो देखिए आप जैसे इस वाले एग्जांपल को ही आप देखते हैं ना, तो इसमें जो मैग्नीज 2 पॉजिटिव है, ये D5 सिस्टम है, तो ये पैरामैग्नेटिक होना चाहिए था, लेकिन ये पैरामैग्नेटिक ना होके इसको अट्रैक्ट करना चाहिए था मैग्नेटिक फील्ड ने, लेकिन मैग्नेटिक फील्ड इसे अट्रैक्ट नहीं करता, इसे स्ट्रांगली रिपेल करता है। इसका मतलब ये आपका एंटी फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म की तरह काम कर रहा है। ऐसा क्यों होता है? देखिए इसके लिए क्या होगा कि ये आपका पैरामैग्नेटिक नेचर होना चाहिए इन 5 की वजह से। ओके, यहाँ पे 6 दिख रहे हैं, उससे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, और ये इलेक्ट्रॉन्स हैं आपके। इसको जैसे ही मैग्नेटिक फील्ड में रखते हैं तो ये पेयर्ड कैसे हो जाते हैं? अपोजिट स्पिन के साथ। ये जो कॉपर पेयर बन रहे हैं यहाँ पर ना, कूपर पेयर, नॉट कॉपर एक्चुअली, इट्स द कूपर पेयर। तो ये जो पेयर बनते हैं इनमें जो स्पिन होती है अपोजिट डायरेक्शन में होती है, तो एक दूसरे का नेट मैग्नेटिक मूवमेंट कैंसिल करती है। अब जब कुछ नेट मैग्नेटिक मूवमेंट होगा ही नहीं तो मैग्नेटिक फील्ड इसको रिपेल करेगा ही करेगा। ओके, और जरूरी नहीं कि ऐसे ही पेयर आप बनाए भाई, आप 3 ऊपर रख सकते हैं, 3 नीचे रख सकते हैं, कैसे भी अलाइनमेंट हो सकते हैं, लेकिन उन अलाइनमेंट में जितनी भी आपकी म्यू इफेक्टिव होगा वो 0 आएगा। तो ये आपका एंटी फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म होता है। ओके गाइस, नाउ okay, so now this is something very important. See, almost all paramagnetic compounds are involved in the exchange interaction to a certain extent, but interaction is dominant only at the very low temperature, and that temperature is the Néel temperature. Actually, this is something very important. See, what I am trying to say actually is, you see in the last page you have seen the manganese oxide. It was acting as it was actually, it should be actually paramagnetic, but it was anti-ferromagnetic. So like your MnO, all the substances, actually all the paramagnetic substances are involved certain kind of the exchange interaction of the electrons, right, to a certain extent. So they may actually behave the diamagnetic or the anti-ferromagnetic type. Okay, but this particular interaction would be more dominant only at the very low temperature, and that low temperature is known as the Néel temperature. So whatever I have written here, you can skip this one and read it later actually. So this is the graph actually. This is effect of temperature on the anti-ferromagnetic substances. Okay guys, so this is again I am plotting that magnetic susceptibility against your against the temperature. So this should be temperature. Okay, and this green line, it is for paramagnetism. So all through you can have this paramagnetism. Okay guys, and you can see this is paramagnetism. Now what you can do, you can cool this particular temperature. You can actually cool the system by decreasing the temperature. As I have already mentioned, that it is actually this interaction for anti-ferromagnetic substance is actually dominant at very low temperature. So what you can do, cool down, you cool that particular system. So in that case you can see the paramagnetism is there. Okay, if if say it shows the ferromagnetism, then of course some ferromagnetism would also be there, but at particular temperature, which is now I am calling it as the Néel temperature, which is Tn. At this temperature the substance would behave as the anti-ferromagnetic substance. Okay, and if you cool down the temperature, then you can see it is acting as the anti-ferromagnetic substance. So this orange graph actually is showing the anti-ferromagnetic nature. So see, if you increasing the temperature, if you are increasing the temperature, your anti-ferromagnetic nature is increasing, but it is having the maximum value of the Tn. If you increase the temperature after that Néel temperature, then of course this anti-ferromagnetism nature would be go down, and you will have the paramagnetism nature more. Okay, this is the effect. So Néel temperature is very important, and you can easily observe it is just opposite of your Curie temperature, which I have explained on the last slide. So whatever actually I have explained here, I have actually also summarized here, so that it would be very, see why I have written all these things here. See, there may be a chance you may not having that particular textbook, so you can take the snapshot of this one. Okay guys, so in that case you can see the Néel temperature for an anti-ferromagnetic substance. Néel temperature is there. Okay, for any anti-ferromagnetic substance, Néel temperature is there below this temperature, right? below this temperature anti-ferromagnetism exists. Below this temperature, you can see here, this anti-ferromagnetism exists actually, and the effect increases on decreasing the temperature. Okay, but you can see it has the maximum value at Tn, and if you heat the system above Tn, then you will not have that particular temperature, not that particular anti-ferromagnetism. Okay guys, so thus below Tn X decreases. So below Tn, that means X decreases. That means this actually decreases. Why decreases? Why decreases in that manner? Because you have all the paired spin. That's why the magnetic susceptibility increases, because the magnetic moment decreases. Okay, and see, you can see at T equals to 0, the substance may behave at particular here. It may behave as a permanently diamagnetic substance also. So this is something very, very important. Okay, so if you see, this is the point where actually you will have the anti-ferromagnetism, and below this value actually increases, and at this actually it will behave as a permanently diamagnetic substances. This is how you can explain the things. Okay, and above Tn actually the paramagnetic nature would be there. Okay, if certain ferromagnetism is also there, then it may also coexist with this one. Okay guys, तो अब हिंदी वाले भी समझ लें कि जितने भी आपके सब्सटेंस होते हैं, जैसे एमएन ऑक्साइड हमने पीछे दिखाया, उन सब में ही आपका कुछ ना कुछ एक्सचेंज इंटरेक्शन करने की बात होती है. ये एक्सचेंज कैसे होता है मैं अगली स्लाइड में आपको बता रहा हूँ. ओके, तो इस वजह से क्या होता है, लेकिन ये जो इंटरेक्शन होता है एक लो टेम्परेचर पे ही एग्जिस्ट करता है, और वो लो टेम्परेचर जो है आपका नील टेम्परेचर है इस केस में. तो नील टेम्परेचर क्या है, किसी भी सब्सटेंस के लिए जो कि एंटी फेरोमैग्नेटिक सब्सटेंस है, एक नील टेम्परेचर होता है. उस नील टेम्परेचर के नीचे जो फेरोमैग्नेटिक नेचर है वो बढ़ता चला जाता है. ठीक है, और उसके ऊपर जो आपका पैरामैग्नेटिक नेचर है वो बढ़ता है. अब आप ये कह सकते हैं कि क्यों नीचे की तरफ को बढ़ता जाता है. आप याद करिए कि एंटी फेरोमैग्नेटिक सब्सटेंस में जैसे जैसे आप इसको ठंडा करते रहते हैं तो ये स्पिन पेयर्ड होने लगती है, और पेयर्ड होंगी तो नेट मैग्नेटिक मूवमेंट इनका कैंसिल होने लगेगा, तो मैग्नेटिक ससेप्टिबिलिटी अपने आप जीरो होनी चाहिए. तो एक मैक्सिमम वैल्यू आपकी होती है एंटी फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म की एक पर्टिकुलर टेम्परेचर पे, वो टेम्परेचर आपका नील टेम्परेचर कहलाता है. ठीक है, यही चीज मैं आपको एक्सप्लेन करना चाह रहा था. ओके गाइस, now the explanation. So guys, these two examples are very, very important for you. These two examples are pretty important for you guys. So why these two examples are important, I am explaining. Okay, you can see here, first of all, you can see that there are two. See what I was talking about in the last slide actually, about the exchange interaction. So what kind of exchange interactions are there? You can see it may have the metal exchange interaction. It may have the spin exchange interaction. Okay, through the bridging ligand. So these two examples are very, very important. Say first of all, I am explaining this particular one, manganese oxide, because I have just finished this one. Say you are having this particular compound. So manganese is in what, 2+ oxidation state, and you know it's a D5 system. So no need to write again and again because I have already written here. So say you may have, say this particular compound. Say this is the manganese oxide. So you may have lots of MnO in it. You may have lots of MnO. Okay, so now what will happen, say this is the manganese Mn, and in this manganese all the 5 electrons are actually going downwards. You can see this particular one going down, going down, going down, going down, going down. So this is just like that. Okay, and in the next neighbor you will have another manganese. In that manganese all the spins, all the 5d electrons are going up, which I am showing here actually. Okay, now what will happen, oxygen is there. Then you will have this p orbital of your oxygen also, because oxygen, you know, it is actually 8. So you may have 1s2, 2s2, you may have the 2p4. Okay, so any of the p orbital actually is having the paired spin. So what will happen, see this oxygen will exchange electron, or will actually overlap with the d orbital of this manganese metal. Okay, it may be your dxy, it may be your dyz, it may be your dzx, but it cannot be your dx square, y square, and dz square. Okay, it has to be actually either of the any of the one of your T2g orbitals. Okay, so in that case you can see this is the spin of your manganese, and this is the spin of the oxygen. They actually get combined, and when they combine, so they form this particular pair. And you know, when this paired, though, that there is no net magnetic moment, it must be equal to 0. Okay, similarly on the right hand side, if you see, this is the picture of your manganese electron, and this is the electron present on the oxygen. Now these two combine, they will give you this picture. Again the paired spin, this would be zero. So when there is no net magnetic moment, obviously the magnetic field will actually repel that particular substance. So this is the explanation of antiferromagnetism based on your spin exchange interaction. Okay, so this is how you can see the value of the magnetic susceptibility decreases in that case. It should be, this compound should behave as the paramagnetic, but due to this exchange it is acting as the antiferromagnetic, okay, substance. So this is very, very important for you. Now say the second one, see copper acetate. This question actually have been asked say in the CSIR net, if I'm not wrong actually. Okay, so in that case, metal metal interaction. So what I'm taking, see, I'm taking this copper acetate. Okay, of course it is in hydrated form, water is also there, exact formula is just like that, Cu2AC 4 times and 2H2O. So it is forming a dimer actually. So what will happen when it forms the dimer, you know, in that case copper acetate, you know, where I have space, okay, I can write here CH3COO negative. Okay, this is their acetate. So two acetates are there, that means 2 negative, then copper is in 2 positive. And copper when present in the 2 positive, it have the D9 configuration. I can write here 1, 2, 3 and 5. So D9 configuration 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it is having one unpaired electron. So it should act as, or it should behave as the paramagnetic substance, but it will show the antiferromagnetic nature. Why? You can see when actually this dimerization would occur. Okay, and during this dimerization you can see one of the electron of one copper will actually interact, or they will exchange the interaction, and the second electron which will come from the second copper, they will make this pair. Okay, and you know this axial overlapping is there, so it should be your either dx square minus y square orbital or d z square orbital. That means it should be from EG set. Okay, while in that case these metal orbital must be from the T2G set. These are the little things which you have to keep in mind actually. So when this happens, this is from the special kind of bond which is known as the delta bond. So you may have the question in your examination, how actually the delta bond is formed in the dimer of the copper acetate. So you can take the example of these kind of the orbital, and when these two get paired up, and when these two get paired up, that means there is no net magnetic moment, and the substance would act as the antiferromagnetic substance. Okay guys, so this is something very, very important to note that. See, अब हिंदी वाले भी समझ लें, ये दो एग्जाम्पल हैं आपके जहाँ पे मैं अभी पीछे एक्सचेंज इंट्रैक्शन की बात कर रहा था. तो पहले आप मैग्नीज ऑक्साइड को ही देख लीजिए, 2 पॉजिटिव में है तो D5 सिस्टम है, तो 5 इलेक्ट्रॉन इसके पास रहने चाहिए. अब देखिए, अगर एक छोटा सा भी एक ब्लॉक लेते हैं तो इसमें बहुत सारे MnO हो सकते हैं. तो यहाँ पे मान लीजिए एक MnO ये है, इसके पास देखिए 5 इलेक्ट्रॉन है. तो मैंने अब सिर्फ शो करने के लिए मैंने एक ही इलेक्ट्रॉन यहाँ पे दिखाया हुआ है. ये वाले की स्पिन मान लीजिए सारी नीचे है, तो ये वाला स्पिन यहाँ नीचे की तरफ है, और एक दूसरा मैग्नीज है दूसरी तरफ, उसमें ऊपर की तरफ स्पिन है जो मैंने यहाँ दिखाई हुई है. ओके, तो अब क्या होता है कि बीच में आपका ऑक्सीजन है, ऑक्सीजन को पता है 2p4 है, तो इसके p ऑर्बिटल में आपके ये इलेक्ट्रॉन नजर आते हैं. तो p ऑर्बिटल तो सेंट्रोसिमेट्रिक होता नहीं है, तो यहाँ पॉजिटिव और नेगेटिव है, जबकि इसमें पॉजिटिव पॉजिटिव आएंगे क्योंकि ये सेंट्रोसिमेट्रिक होता है ना. इसको ध्यान में रखेंगे, ये मैं पहले भी बता चुका हूँ. तो इनके बीच में जब इंट्रैक्शन होगा तो ये वाला जो इलेक्ट्रॉन है ये इसके साथ पेयर्ड हो जाएगा, और पेयर्ड होके ये ऐसा पेयर बनाएगा जो कि कैंसिल कर देंगे एक दूसरे के मैग्नेटिक मूवमेंट को, रिजल्टेंट 0. ऐसे ही दूसरी तरफ आपका ये ऐसे करेगा और ये ऊपर की तरफ करेगा, ठीक है, और ये फिर ऐसे एक पेयर बनाएंगे तो फिर ये कैंसिल कर देंगे. तो जब इसका कोई नेट मैग्नेटिक मूवमेंट बचेगा ही नहीं, तो फिर ये आपका जो है एंटी फेरोमैग्नेटिक सब्सटेंस की तरह बिहेव कर सकता है. और जरूरी नहीं हो कि दोनों मेटल सेम हो. सी, इट मे ऑल्सो हैपन इन द एलॉय ऑल्सो. ओके, यू मे हैव द वन मैग्नीज एंड वन अनदर मेटल. ओके, मेटल आयन. सो दिस यू हैव टू कीप इन माइंड एक्चुअली. ओके, अब इसके बाद मेटल, ये तो स्पिन एक्सचेंज की बात थी. अब मेटल मेटल इंट्रैक्शन, तो ये आपका देखिए डाइहाइड्रेटेड कॉपर एसीटेट का डाइमर है. कॉपर यहाँ पे एसीटेट के साथ है तो 2 पॉजिटिव में है, दैट मीन ये D9 सिस्टम है, और D9 सिस्टम में होने का मतलब है कि इसके पास एक इलेक्ट्रॉन अवेलेबल है. ओके, तो इतने बिहेव करना चाहिए पैरामैग्नेटिक सब्सटेंस की तरह, लेकिन ये पैरामैग्नेटिक सब्सटेंस की तरह बिहेव करेगा नहीं। क्यों? क्योंकि जब ये आपका ऐसे डाइमर बनाता है तो इसमें आपका कॉपर, जो एक इलेक्ट्रॉन इसके पास था, दूसरा दूसरे कॉपर के पास था, ये पेयर्ड हो जाते हैं और ये स्पिन जो है अपोजिट डायरेक्शन में अलाइंड हो जाती हैं, तो नेट जो मैग्नेटिक मूवमेंट है वो जीरो आ जाता है। ठीक है, और नेट मैग्नेटिक मूवमेंट जीरो आ जाएगा तो फिर ये आपका जो है पैरामैग्नेटिक ना रह के कैसा हो जाएगा, डायमैग्नेटिक टाइप का बिहेव करेगा और मैग्नेटिक फील्ड इसको रिपेल करेगा। तो ये एक्चुअली एंटी फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म की प्रॉपर्टी शो कर रहा है। दोनों ही रिपेल किए जाते हैं, डायमैग्नेटिक भी और मैग्नेटिक भी और एंटी फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म भी, लेकिन ये एंटी फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म ज्यादा स्ट्रांगली रिपेल किया जाता है। तो इस बॉन्ड को जो कि कॉपर और कॉपर के बीच में बन रहा है, विच इज जो कि बन रहा है आपका या तो से ईजी ऑर्बिटल्स वाले यूज करेगा। ये आपके यहाँ पे T2G यूज हो रहे थे ना इनमें, तो यहाँ पे ईजी यूज करेगा और इस फॉर्म को इसको बॉन्ड को आप डेल्टा बॉन्ड बोलते हैं। ठीक है, तो ये आपका एंटी फेरोमैग्नेटिज्म है। नाउ लास्ट इन दैट केस यू कैन सी हियर which is the ferrimagnetism. Okay, so ferrimagnetism you can see they are the substance like paramagnetic substance. They actually are weakly attracted towards the magnetic field, weakly attracted towards the magnetic field, right? Why? See, you can see these are the some of the examples: Fe3O4 and your ferrates also, magnesium ferrate, your nickel ferrate, these are the examples. So in that case you can see the substance should behave as the paramagnetic. You say iron is 2 positive here. See, in that case you can determine the oxidation state of the iron like we did in the earlier cases. So you may have the some unpaired electron, it should behave as the paramagnetic substances. Okay, and when you keep this substances right in the magnetic field, then what will happen? The spins aligned in that manner, so you have only very little see, this will cancel, these two actually are in the opposite direction, these two are in the opposite direction, though, so cancel out, so you will remain only one unpaired electron. So this will actually give you the magnetic susceptibility value, and this is the reason why they actually are weakly attracted towards the magnetic field. So they are much like your paramagnetic substances, not exactly paramagnetic substances, but like behaving the paramagnetic substances. Okay, and you should know for this you have to have your Curie temperature. Okay, so below Curie temperature they show the paramagnetic nature, right? But strong, but you can see but these this paramagnetic nature is strong above Tc, right? See, if you go beyond this Tc, then there is no magnetic order would be there. Okay, see, then paramagnetism would be there, so in that case you can see ferrimagnetism is there, weakly attraction. Now I'm heating it. When I heating, then this arrangement will lost and you will have the random spins, then you will have your paramagnetism again. So this is the effect of heating on the ferrimagnetism, but these ferrimagnetic substances are not that important actually, and आपके लिए जो important है वो आपका जो है इससे पहले वाले जो cases हैं, those cases actually are very very important for you. Okay guys, so this is how ferrimagnetism can be explained. So हिंदी वाले भी समझ सकते हैं कि कैसे ये आपका behave कर सकता है. Okay guys, now you can see in my last slide, so this is the summary actually. Okay, तो ये आपके पैरामैग्नेटिक सब्सटेंस है जहां पे आपका कुछ ना कुछ नेट आपका जो है एक डायरेक्शन में अलाइनमेंट मिलेगा। ये फेरोमैग्नेटिक है जो कि एक ही डायरेक्शन में सारे मिलेंगे। एंटी फेरोमैग्नेटिक में अपोजिट मिल जाएगा। फेरी में आपके कुछ एक साथ मिल जाएंगे। डायमैग्नेटिक आपको बताइए। सो दिस इज द समरी ऑफ द system which I have actually studied. So guys, in this lecture I have tried to give you the knowledge in the Hindi as well as the English. As you can see, I have explained very little things, but it actually took too much of time to explain. So this problem would always be there if I'll go just like that, and moreover it is actually not comfortable for me to switch again and again in the two languages, but for you I am trying to do this also. Okay, so since the length of the video has increased so much, so I'll meet you with the next topic of the magnetism in the next day, right, along with your my organometallic series, which I have to start from tomorrow, but I don't think that I'll start from tomorrow, but let's see what will happen. Okay, so if you like the video and understand the things, subscribe the tetrahedron chemistry classes and do share with your friends. Okay, and please don't forget to like the video. Okay, this is very very important. Okay, thank you very much.